Hello everyone, welcome back to Weaving Web3. We are here live at ETH Milan with a really exciting guest. I have Pigi, head of gaming at Taiko. So why Taiko and why gaming?
Well, pleasure to be here with you, first of all. Thanks for the invitation and a great event here in Milan. Really excited to seeing all the ETH community showing up. So in short, what Taiko is a Type 1 ZK EVM. We're fully Ethereum equivalent. The reason why that is important is because Taiko inherits all the properties from Ethereum. Of course, liveness, security, and decentralization. Taiko is the first based roll-up that is currently live on mainnet. The reason why we chose this approach is because we don't want to scale Ethereum with compromises. Majority of the rollups out there, they run a single sequencer, which of course can be beneficial for some things like throughput, transaction speed, and so on. But of course, it's a huge choke point. It's a central point of failure. Is a centralization issue, which more than just like all the philosophical things about decentralization and whatnot, which is definitely not quantifiable. But more than that is more about security and liveness, right? So if the sequencer goes down, then the entire chain goes down, right? So what Taiko does is that our blocks get actually validated directly by Ethereum L1 validators. So that kind of like accrues value to Ethereum. And at the same time preserves all I said about decentralization liveness. Of course, there is a trade-off with this, as pretty much everything in blockchains. And the trade-off, as for now, is that we're subject to Ethereum block finality, which is 12 seconds or plus, right? But we're actively working to fix that. We have a very cool piece of technology called pre-confirmations, which will allow for sub-second finality. So we're working on that. It's going to come in the next few months. So that will also give Taiko the instant finality that the decentralized rollups have. So we kind of like go full circle and kind of like achieve scalability in the right way.
Absolutely, and I think that's one thing you guys have, like you mentioned, are doing the right thing with the vision of Ethereum is there isn't that chance of, let's say, that sequence going down, and some blockchains aren't able to, I won't be able to forcefully get my funds off that L2, right? And then you're either waiting to that sequence to go back online, or otherwise you've lost your money forever if they don't fix it, right? So I think Taiko's vision is something that people should be inspired about, because look, at the end of the day, we need to have our financial freedoms and the scalability problems that you mentioned. So why do you think, like you said, you're head of gaming, why do you think it is now suitable to build games?
I think like when it comes to Web3 gaming, there's a few things to keep in mind, right? Like the initial wave of like play to earn, I think they kind of like, made us take like a few steps back rather than like forward. And they were of course like, fed by like speculation and things that, is more suited for the crypto people, I guess. I think overall, Web3 games definitely need to be different. Like for example, the incentive component, a lot of people think it's BS, but I think it's actually like one of the biggest value proposition. Of course, it has to be done right by a trustworthy team with a long-term vision and all of that. But those things are more like human factors rather than technological factors. So, I think like as an industry that struggles to kind of like reach like the masses, I think just like gaming makes a lot of sense because of just like the user pool that is out there to tap into. It's definitely a long way. In this industry, we're used to like products being shipped very fast, whereas like games take time.
Absolutely.
So what we see cyclically into a crypto market doesn't necessarily like go hand in hand with like what the life cycle of a game is, right? About Taiko, I mean, to be completely honest, right now, as the chain is, we're probably not the best suited for gaming, right? Because as I said, like the finality and whatnot. But we do have a very active gaming ecosystem. And as for now, the games we have are very like, they kind of like took the approach of like, very fast like incentive loops, dopamine hits. So we don't really focus that much on like AAA games, thing like blockbusters. I have yet to be convinced that that's something we can actually do in this industry because we're against like the giants of like the gaming industry, right? But you can still like make a very fun game that can reward their users based on like their activity, and also can, you know, where they can have fun. For example, we have this game on Taiko called Crack and Stack. It's very straightforward. 2D pixel game. You hop into a mine. You're a miner. You gotta mine some ore. You get ETH. You walk around with your bag. There are other players that can like kill you. There are NPCs that can kill you. The environment, you can fall into lava and lose everything. If you survive for 2 minutes, you can escape with your loot, which is ETH.
Interesting.
It's not a lot of money, right? But like, why not? Like, if you're having, and the game is fun, right? Like, the mechanics are simple yet engaging. So, you know, and they grew to a lot of users. So, you know, I think this type of like approach, especially in the short term, I think it's very interesting overall.
I totally agree with you, and I think a lot of people fail to think is like when the game industry first began, it was just pixelated on the Atari and all these kind of things, and not straight away you've got like a AAA game, I don't know, Warhammer, Total Wars, whatever. It's people have these expectations. That's what we expect straight away on blockchain, and I think creating these foundations is the core for any kind of community, right? We need to have these proof of concept, the little fun things, and starting off with indie games, right? And then later on, you kind of build on top of it, the iterations, because like personally, I'm a hardcore gamer. I love gaming. I've been since a kid, right? And a lot of, I got burned by a lot of these blockchain games because it was just literally the early miners, all those people, VCs, they just dump on you as soon as the thing, right? And I think that really damaged the whole gaming community. And I was absolutely totally against it until recently I've been seeing actually like legitimate communities building these fun incentive games to ensure being like actually rebuilding the whole industry on the blockchain, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And like, what do you think as, let's say, an individual person watching this, why should they, let's say, get involved in Taiko or like potentially outside of gaming explore building, like the ability, what kind of ethos could they build on top of you?
Great question. I think like if you're a developer that, you know, has been building in the EVM landscape for a while, and like you recognize and acknowledge the values of Ethereum, I think as for now, Taiko is the more ETH aligned. Don't take my word for it. Literally, like Vitalik called us like the EVM purists. So that's kind of like one angle. We are a very young ecosystem. So becoming like kind of like a role model as a builder in a young ecosystem means you can get all the upside of an ecosystem as it grows. Being an early adopter on the building side. So I think that's another big factor. And if you want to get involved, actually, there's a pretty straightforward call to action. We just recently launched a hackathon in collaboration with Lambda Hacks. There's 100K bounties. We have different tracks, from DeFi, gaming, social fi, real world like apps, consumer apps. So and we call it Grant Factory. So also if you actually like win, we will work with the teams on like structuring a grant and kind of like make sure there's a continuation. I feel like oftentimes at hackathons people just like hack for the bounty and then like don't carry on the project. We want to make sure that it's actually a long-term thing. And actually one last thing I want to mention, I think also like our team approach, the way we approach the industry. We kind of like want to cut the BS to the minimum. We all been around for a while, worked with other protocols in other ecosystems. We've seen like what works and what doesn't, especially when there's a lot of money being thrown around and incentives don't align. So we want to make sure that we support the right teams that can be with us for the long term. We do invest, we do give grants, but with a grain of salt. Let's put it that way.
No, I think that's the right way to do it, because throwing about money and random incentives doesn't really bring. And we saw like the recent statistics recently showing that actually all these incentives programs don't actually bring a net gain in the long run, right?
Yeah. And teams also, teams also like they want beyond, like money is kind of like abundant in this industry for if you're serious. But a lot of teams actually want more, like way more than that. They want to feel supported. They want like somebody that like works with them like every day, rather than like, oh, here's a check and then like, maybe we hop on a call in like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we take kind of like the opposite approach.
Okay, no, like I think what would you, kind of like turning it slightly, what do you think you would be interested in seeing being built? Because you're so Ethereum aligned, you're able to potentially build some applications that wouldn't be, let's say, as safe to build on other L2s with all these points of failures. So what do you think the vision moving forward would be?
Great question. I think it's about time. The technology is there, the mindset is there. That we start like building apps that can like the average user beyond anything that is crypto related can actually use. And the reason why this is also important to be built on a network that is safe is because like if you hop into a DeFi protocol to get some yield on some blockchain that is not that safe, you're like at this maximum spectrum of degeneracy, so you're a very like risk taker. So that's okay, like that's totally fine. But if you're a random user that like uses an application for its utility before like any monetary rewards, you log in every day. Maybe you're building your profile. Maybe there's even like a monetary side of it where you earn something as a product of your labor. Then that app needs to be secure, needs to be live all the time, needs to like guarantee all the properties. So consumer apps, I think are definitely like a great angle. And of course, like also when it comes to like hard assets that are starting to be put on the blockchain, I think that's also an interesting angle. And the reason on that side why you need something that is like secure and safe is because the people putting these assets on chain are most likely institutions, people that are more risk adverse. And that's why we're seeing like a slow adoption of things like RWA. It might be a buzzword, but like where's the money? Where's the actual like the actual like big chip that somebody external from our industry puts in? I've yet to see that, right? Maybe it's because of regulation, maybe it's because of like security issues and whatnot.
I totally agree.
So I think that's a big property that we have.
I totally agree, because like at the end of the day, I think we can all kind of say Ethereum's not going to fail. It's not going to randomly stop, right? And building, let's say, on Taiko, you have that utter surety that you will have someone being able to verify all the things that have happened on your chain, right? There's none of that. And I think often people will forget that, be like, well, I'm just making money and all this stuff. But actually the technology behind it is so significant and people don't even realize it. Oh, yes, I've got cheap fees and all that stuff. But that cost becomes potentially ending your your life, because I don't mean like ending your life physically, but like you're ending like your blockchain life because it's all gone. Right? You can't access it. So
no, I agree. And also like one thing, I think it's like the end user doesn't care at all about this. And it's on our shoulders as like people that work in and build this industry to actually do it the right way. If we mess it up, like the end user is not going to realize that what's in the back end is actually messed up. Of course, it's a fine line, of course, but I think it's our responsibility to build like something that can like, outlive us, right? Something that it will go on for generations. So, that's kind of like what we're building, and eventually, like ideally, we want to decentralize everything. Like Taiko Labs no longer exists. We also do embrace like we're the first one building a based roll-up, but we want every roll-up to be based. We actually have it's part of our technical roadmap to do so with a spin-off called Gwenef. So that's something that it's in our vision. So we kind of like don't mind who does it, but we stand by like this approach. So. That's why we're building it.
It makes absolute sense, especially with all the alignments that we, as users and developers, want. So if there's anything that maybe we haven't covered yet, like you really want to get out to people, that's really important to know about Taiko.
Great question. I think it's like on what we're doing on scaling Ethereum, the type of research we're contributing to. I think that's very important. To mention, I think that if you're like again like serious about like actually getting involved with an ecosystem that like will long live, then something that's definitely I wanna get out. Overall, just like be a part of the chain. We're kind of like gamify the ecosystem. We have a program that we call Trailblazers.
Yes.
People can like earn experience points and level up as link in a game by using Taiko apps. So if you're excited about the ecosystem, that's kind of like a nice addition. It is a reward program. It's kind of like there's a spiky question in the industry, incentives and whatnot. I think it's okay as long as like you grow an ecosystem organically.
Absolutely.
And even like in traditional tech, like startups spend a ton of money to do user acquisition. So it's a great opportunity to get involved early. In the past season, we had like about 250,000 weekly active users, posting like 2 million transactions every day. So we all hope to like grow more. We're onboarding every day new apps. The user base is solid and growing. So yeah, that's kind of like another call to action as a user. If you're a developer, the program also has like kind of like retroactive incentives for apps that contribute the most to the chain. So I like that's a great way to get involved.
Absolutely, and I have to say personally, I've been involved in the Trailblazer stuff. I've been doing it to explore the campaigns, and I think it's been a really nice way to.
Thank you. That's
I have to say it's definitely one of the better ones than I've participated in the past.
Thank you. It's a tough one. We're kind of like building the car as we drive it. There's no playbook, but we're having a lot of fun. We listen to the community. We get a lot of great feedback also from the ecosystem builders.
Absolutely.
So we kind of like want to build hand in hand with them. So yeah.
Amazing. So when we're sitting here next year, what would have Taiko achieved? What do you hope to have achieved, and maybe what exciting things are you seeing or potentially want to be built?
Great question. First of all, one of the top roll-ups out there by adoption, by brand awareness. There's trade-offs. We know where we stand as a position. We know what the other roll-ups building out there are good at doing or are better doing, and we know what we can do. Just maintain there. By metrics, we're actually like. And again, like we launched main 100 days ago, but we were already by like in the top 5 by like activity and
that's
whatnot.
a very impressive thing to do.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, again, so we want to make sure we can stay there and actually like be in the top. So that's one thing. Another thing, we have at least one app built on Taiko that the majority of the industry recognizes, and they know it's associated to Taiko, and it's something that is actually onboarding people beyond just onboarding them on Taiko, right?
Absolutely.
So that's, I think, another great achievement. And then ideally, we ship all the upgrades that we have to do on the technical side, and also like as I was mentioning, this GwenF product that is pretty much what we call base boosted rollups. So it's pretty much a way to like spin off your base rollup, by default. So it's kind of like part of like our vision as well.
Yes.
So this kind of like the elements, I would say.
Well, that's amazing. My brain is like hurting in such a good way because I've learned so much, and like being able to actually meet the people behind the projects that I enjoy using is really amazing. So this was Weaving Web3 with Taiko at ETH Milan, and this was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.